What's up everyone, and welcome to a Minecraft Bedrock farm tutorial. In this video we're going to be looking at the Sniffer, how to get one, and how to automate the collection process for its digging. Building this farm will allow you to get all the torchflower seeds and pitcher pods that you could ever need, all while AFK without having to do a single thing. But before we jump into the tutorial, let's talk about the Sniffer. The Sniffer will dig up torchflower seeds and pitcher pods. They have a chance of doing this every 8 minutes or so it takes quite a while if you're trying to get a bunch of the flowers. Both of these flowers need to be planted on irrigated farmland, just like a potato or a carrot. They can be bone mealed to increase their growth stage, but there's no way for you to collect seeds from them. The only way to get more of the flowers or more of the seeds is by waiting on the Sniffers to dig them up. But when they're fully grown, you can break them by hand. You don't need a special tool or silk touch. Then you can put them all over your world. You can use the flowers to make dye, or you can breed Sniffers by using the torchflower seeds. They will poop out an egg that you'll have to go pick up and replace. Placing it on moss will make it hatch faster than placing it on grass. But since you need to have Sniffers to get torchflower seeds, you'll have to get your first eggs from the warm ocean ruins. To find the ruins, go to a warm ocean and look for sandstone structures under the water. They usually have magma blocks, sometimes sea lanterns and other things like that. Remember that warm oceans have tropical fish as well as sand at the bottom of the ocean. You'll also need to bring a brush, which is made by a stick, a copper, and a feather. But you're looking for this suspicious looking sand. Brushing this sand will cause an item to start to pop out of the sand, and very rarely it will be a Sniffer egg. In the realm that I play in, it took me like 14 ruins in order to find my 2 Sniffer eggs, so it's pretty rare. One thing to save time is if you see an item popping out that you don't want, you can just break the suspicious sand. And just remember, if there's gravel at the bottom, this is a cold ocean ruin. The Sniffer eggs will not be in these cold ocean ruins. So just keep digging through the warm ocean ruins until you come across suspicious looking sand that contains the Sniffer eggs. And once you finally find a Sniffer egg or two, you're ready to build the farm. But before we jump into the farm tutorial, I will include a materials list in the description, so check that out if you want to know what you'll need to build the farm. Sniffers can dig through most types of dirt, so the bottom of their pin needs to be one of the blocks that you see here, or just regular grass, from moss to podzol to mud. They also need at least a 6x6 area in order to dig. Now, as with any farm that uses moving minecarts, you really need to chunk align it. The easiest and fastest way to do this is to pull up your calculator, type in your X or Z coordinate, and then divide that by 16. Whatever the answer is, you only care about the whole number, nothing past the decimal point. Simply round down and up. So the only number we care about is 23 and 24. So then we take those numbers and multiply them by 16, and we have our chunk borders. So there's a chunk border at 368, and there's another chunk border at 24 times 16, which is 384. Do this for both your X and your Z coordinate, and then place a block where that coordinate is so that you know where the chunk border is. After placing the marker block, place another marker block at 1 less than where you are. So 368 becomes 367. These two blocks are where the chunks are actually touching. They're each a chunk border. So our other one is 384, so we'll place a block at 384 and at 383. So just do this for your X and your Z coordinate and you'll know where the chunk is. Now of course you can always use chunk base or one of the other various resources to find your chunk borders. You don't have to use your calculator, but we all have one on our phone and our phone is always in our pocket. So it's easy and quick. Anytime that you need to know where the chunk is, simply take your coordinates, divide by 16, then multiply that whole number by 16 again. Once you get a marker block placed on each side, I like to align them so that you know where the corners are. The 4 marking blocks you'll end up with in each corner represent 4 different chunks where they touch on the corners. The main reason you want to chunk align anything with moving minecarts is that if moving minecarts moves into an unloaded chunk, I've seen them despawn, or sometimes they just stop and get stuck, and getting them restarted again is kind of a pain. So save yourself the hassle and go ahead and chunk align. So once you get your corners marked and your chunk laid out, it's time to start building. So their pin needs to be inside this chunk. It can be the full chunk or it can just be part of the chunk. It's up to you. I'm going to use some fence posts just to pin them in, but really the pin is up to you, whatever size or shape you want it to be. But once you get it there, you need to go and dig down 2 in the entire pin, including under the fences or walls, like so. Then come to one side that you want your collection system to be on. You're going to have a chest that you need to access over here. Pop out the corner block and place a hopper going down into the bottom block with any solid block diagonally up from that hopper, like so. Then under that block, dig down 3 so that you can dig underneath the platform that you just made. Under the platform, you want to dig out a 3x6 area so that you can build your timer. But before we do that, let's place a chest underneath this hopper so that we know where our collection system is. Now if you place it underneath the platform like this, you'll need to switch that block with a slab so that you can open the chest. Now that we know where our collection system's going to be, let's come back up to the top, and about 4 away from the wall, we're going to dig down 1 on the front and the back. This is where we're going to give power to the powered rails to make sure the minecart is strong enough or fast enough to make it through the entire farm. Now once you get these 2 lines dug out, we're either going to fill them with blocks of redstone, or if that's too expensive, just place down a marker block, and we'll do an alternative that's much cheaper to power the powered rails. So if you didn't use redstone blocks, come back underneath the platform and dig out until you find your marker blocks, then dig out the blocks underneath your marker blocks, and we're going to place levers onto each of the marker blocks. Be sure to turn the levers on as you go, and this will power the powered rails that will be going on top of them. And now to place the rails. Place a powered rail on top of that hopper, then place a regular rail, and then 4 more powered rails. You want to give your minecart a big speed boost at the very beginning, and then continue placing rails. Be sure to place powered rails on top of your marker blocks or your blocks of redstone, whichever you decided to use, and you can place regular rails on all the other places. But before you come to the end of the second row, we need to make sure the rails don't connect in the wrong way. So break out this block temporarily, place a temporary solid block underneath where it used to be, with a rail on top of it. Now continue placing your rails around like so that it doesn't connect. Then break out that rail, break out that block, and replace the diagonal block. Now just keep placing rails and powered rails until you fill up the entire platform. But when you come to the very last row, be sure to place like 4 powered rails at the very end going into a solid block, so that the minecart, when it comes to the end, will go really fast, hit the wall, and then turn around and come back. You should have something like this. So now place a minecart with a hopper on it and give it a little push. Just make sure it'll go through the entire rail system. If it doesn't, you can always break out rails next to the powered rails and place more powered rails. And once you get your rails finished, it's time to build the activation and the timer. So place a solid block next to this slab with an observer facing down next to that block. Then grab a repeater, place a repeater on maximum ticks going into that other solid block, and a piece of redstone dust on the back of that repeater. Then under the observer, place a solid block, and that observer is going to be looking directly at some redstone dust, like so. If you use blocks of redstone as your powered rail activation, go ahead and place a temporary hopper right here, then another hopper going into that hopper. Break out the temporary hopper and place a hopper going into that hopper. So now they're going into each other like so. And then a block of redstone on top of them, like so. Now, if you used redstone blocks, this is fine, continue on in just a second, but if you use the levers instead, you actually need to build this 1 block lower. So if you use the levers, dig down 1 block in these 2 spaces, and now place your temporary hopper, then the hopper going into that hopper, break out the temporary one, place the other hopper going in, so they're going into each other like so. But then place a redstone block on top of one of the hoppers, it doesn't matter which one, but then place a temporary block so that you can get a piston directly diagonally from the hoppers on both sides. So temporary block, piston, like so. Now place solid blocks diagonally down from the pistons with redstone dust on top of both of these blocks. Then we're going to grab our comparators and place comparators coming out of the hopper going into the solid blocks that you just placed. Like so, 1 on each side. And now we need to take 5 stacks of trash items and put them into one of the hoppers. I actually like to use just a little bit less than 5 stacks, so take out 10 from the 5th stack and put that in there. This is a 5-minute timer so that your minecart isn't active all the time. And I actually realized too late this redstone dust needs to be a comparator instead, but then place solid blocks next to this solid block like this, and then place solid blocks down here so that you can place a piece of redstone dust next to that redstone block. Then next to that dust going up here, going all the way into the comparator, another dust down there, and then a repeater poked once so it's on a 2-tick delay, like so. So what will happen is every 5 minutes this redstone block will return to this current, which will then ping the observer, which will then ping your minecart and send it on its way. It should work now, so make sure everything works before you seal it up. But then take your moss or your dirt or any other block that the sniffers can root around in, place your eggs on top of it once you get it filled up, and you're good to go. Now any item that lands in this field should be automatically picked up by the minecarts. The minecarts go every 5 minutes, and items despawn in 5 minutes, so the items should never despawn. The minecart will always pick them up. Anytime you use a moving minecart for a collection system, especially on multiplayer realms, you should always build a 5-minute timer attached to it. Moving minecarts are incredibly laggy, so building a 5-minute timer really cuts down on realm lag. But now you're done, you did it. Now anytime your cute little sniffers dig up any items, those items will automatically get picked up by your collection system, and as long as a player is within simulation distance of this farm, it will work. Your little sniffers will keep digging up items, and your minecart will keep picking them up. And that's all we got for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you being here. Leave me a comment and let me know what you think about this video, whether you liked it or didn't like it. If you did like it though, don't forget to leave a thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. And consider subscribing. I make redstone mini games, redstone tutorials, farm videos, tips and tricks, and more. I'm sure there's something in my channel that you can enjoy. In the realm I've been playing in, I've built my 4-way randomized multiplayer archery game, my chessboard, and I just finished making Drip Leaf Spleef. I really like this. I'm excited to play it. I haven't gotten to play it with people quite yet, but it's built and ready to go. Look at that, Drip Leaf Spleef. 3,800 drip leaves, and a snowball farm, and an 8-player simultaneous drop activation. If you would like to see this, let me know in the comments and I'll make some videos on it. Or really anything that you would like to see, just let me know in the comments and I will try to get it done. I make these videos specifically for you, so let me know what you would like to see. Until then, I've been your host, OmLedu, hopefully teaching you a Minecraft trick or two, and reminding you until next time, don't forget to have fun. Bye bye.